Hey, what up, everybody? It's your boy Kenny bringing you guys another spoiler filled review. Except this time, it's all about The Matrix Resurrections, Lana Wachowski's latest installment in the Matrix saga, series, franchise, whatever you want to call it. Before we get deeper into this review, drop a like, drop a comment. We love to get into great discussions with all of y'all out there in the Fandom Frequency community. It's slowly growing every single day, and we appreciate all you guys out there for it. And click that bell so you get notified every single time we drop that new into your feed. With no further ado, let's go on with the review. And we're talking about The Matrix Resurrections, starring old school stars from the original three: Keanu Reeves as Neo, aka Steven Anderson, or I think Mr. Anderson. I know that for sure. And Carrie Ann Moss as Trinity, aka Kim, in this new movie. But I digress. And there was a lot of anticipation on this fourth installment right here, and giving you guys a little bit of background on myself and where I'm coming from, or where I'm coming from as far as being a Matrix fan. I'm a casual fan. I really, really love the first film. I think it's really dope. I think it is so unique and creative for the time, obviously, it first dropped. I didn't see it in 99. I was 4 to 5 years old, so I definitely wasn't watching The Matrix yet. But I caught it in the mid to late 2000s, and I was still pretty mind blown overall with the concept and the themes and the things that it was exploring and the visuals and just the way that the kung fu came in and just the way that it all came together was just so damn inspiring and eye-opening, and started to make me question things within my own reality, you know what I mean? And it was also just a kick-ass action movie from top to bottom in every single action scene, well choreographed, well filmed. You can see everything on screen. It was awesome. They're learning hundreds of kung fu moves for this thing. You got Hugo Weaving at his prime, Lawrence Fishburne at his prime, or shit, he's still great now, so who knows about when his prime was. But he was awesome then in that role. And going into this new film, I did not have a huge amount of anticipation, but I did have a little bit of anticipation because I enjoy Reloaded, the second film. Okay, I definitely think it's a step back. I definitely think it gets a little too complicated, and the whole thing with the Keymaster and the twins and all this other shit, I think overcomplicates things when The Matrix was really dope, was at its dopest when it was a little more simplistic, a little more mysterious, and a little more ominous. And you were just in the Matrix a lot more so than Zion. And as we get into this new film, Ion, which we'll get into more in a little bit, but all those things coming together in just the simplicity, but the coolness and the genre blend was what really works so well. And just the themes and the things it was exploring and talking about and using, and really and the social commentary of it is what really rings true with The Matrix. And honestly, yo, that's actually pretty strong and prevalent here in this new film. And that's going to transition me into the positives right there for this new film. I came in with fairly low expectations, and for the most part, my expectations were met and exceeded a good bit too. This was a very good sequel. I'm not going to jump over the moon and say that this was the best sequel. This was like living up to the original or anything like that. But this is definitely much better than the last two films. And I know for some people that's not saying much, but I know a lot of people out there do enjoy Reloaded. And I know there's actually a good bit that like Revolution. So this is actually a step up in my mind, because when it's really going all in on the Matrix and exploring that, and really how Neo, or Steven Anderson, or whoever his full name is, he's over here brainwashed thinking that he made this video game company, Dos Machina, and they created a series of games, a trilogy. And Steven Anderson, or whatever Neo's full name is, I can't remember his full name, but he created this video game trilogy in this tech company, in this video game publishing company called Deus Machina, and they made a trilogy of games called The Matrix. So he's brainwashed to believe that all those experiences that he put into the game were just thoughts that he had in his mind and were only fiction, not reality. When in our minds, we saw the trilogy, we know this all went down, and this is the fake reality, a new little pocket reality, if you will, that the analyst created, who's played by Neil Patrick Harris, by the way, in one of the best performances I've seen from him in a while. In this new film, he's the new antagonist, and he was also awesome as well. Big positives there. And he came in and created this little fake reality for Neo after he seemingly died in the original, or not the original, but in the third film, Revolutions, at the end there, and Trinity as well. They were held in these little pods in the computer or whatever they call it. And that's where he's been all these 20 years, brainwashed with the blue pills to think he's been living in this little fake alternate reality he's been in for all this time. And he pretty much fully accepted it and was just going along with it and just didn't want to go with the visions and the delusions that the analyst was telling him as his therapist was happening, that he was having these mental breakdowns and things like that. And all that really came together in a really cool way, exploring mental health issues and stuff like that within the Matrix. I love the things that they were touching on while also keeping the plot moving and keeping things going at a really good clip, especially in the first and third acts. I'll get more into the second act later. It did drag a bit, but we'll get more into that in a bit. But everything with Keanu Reeves back as Neo, awesome stuff. Didn't miss a beat. And he's even better in the martial arts scenes than he was before. But that's definitely some of that John Wick energy carrying over here. He's got a trilogy of that under his belt. He did the Matrix trilogy. He's done a lot of action movies over his years, you know what I'm saying? This guy is a killing machine, and he definitely showed it here. And I loved everything they did with Neo in this movie, man. Really good stuff. And when it comes to the original characters returning, how could you not talk about Trinity as well? Carrie-Anne Moss coming back. Didn't miss a beat either. And it was really cool getting to see her fly around and do all that cool shit we kind of see near the end of the film and all that. Really cool stuff. And she was really kicking ass with that signature back kick, man. I was loving it, man. And the whole thing with her kind of being in a fake reality as well, like she became a mother and she had these kids with and a husband and started a family and stuff like that. It was a really interesting way to kind of see and kind of played into what the character kind of wanted in a way in the previous movies, kind of what she would want to do in an ideal reality. But obviously, she started to accept it as well because this isn't the truth. But they both realize it, near halfway through the film or whatever, and end up getting resurrected and brought back. So all that stuff was really cool. And just the tie-ins with all the original trilogy and the way that it was so meta and so clever with it, I really enjoyed, man. They literally talked about how Warner Brothers wanted a new installment to the trilogy, making it a new continuation, reboot, sell, all that jazz. And they were just straight up acknowledging all that stuff. And even young Morpheus, played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, he came into the thing saying all these meta lines and all this stuff, and knowing that he's a different amalgamation version of an agent and Morpheus' freedom fighter from Zion of Morpheus. He was like this new rebooted version of him, literally created by Neo, Steven Anderson, in this little I can't remember the term they use, but it's this little like simulation that they use to create new programs. He created his own and was doing that with these new rebooted characters of Agent Smith being the new boss of the company, and Yahya Abdul-Mateen's character, and I forgot, Jonathan Groff, who played the new Agent Smith. He was also really dope as well in this film. He comes into the picture, and all that goes down. And it was really awesome getting to see the way that those two younger actors got to play these really iconic characters in a similar but new way at the same time. And that whole kung fu sequence with Yahya and Keanu Reeves, man, remixing it in a way for this new one and making him be like, fight for the truth, like fight for your life back and all that stuff was really, really dope. And I enjoyed the hell out of it, man. And overall, this movie was really well done when it came to the action and the special effects and stuff like that. And the cinematography was gorgeous, man. And I gotta say, other than a few scenes that were a little shaky, most of the action here was really dope and harkened back to the original with a little more simplicity, but taking it up a notch with the spectacle when they needed to. You know what I'm saying? Really dope shootouts, just like the old school one. Cool stuff where Neo's moving shit almost like the Force and moving away bullets and projectiles. And the flying sequence near the end was really done at an emotional, poignant moment in the story. So I think it kind of played for me better in this one than it did in Reloaded, because I thought it just seemed kind of Superman like, which seemed just a little silly looking, just to me. But I think in this one it was done well and done more effectively for sure. And overall, man, I gotta say the plot, while a bit confusing at times, especially if you haven't rewatched the trilogy recently, it's been about several months to a year for me. I did watch the original fairly recently because I caught it on TV, but overall, I haven't watched the trilogy in a while. And while the trilogy has a lot of details you're going to need to know going into this one, it's not so confusing that you're going to be so lost you can't get into the story at all. There was just a few elements I was talking to because I saw it with my dad. I was talking to him about it because I was a little confused on a few things, but overall, it was really well done. And I think the way that they tied it into the original trilogy was pretty spot on. And I have very few complaints about overall with the film, but getting into some of those complaints, I did think the pacing really slowed down in the middle act there, but it wasn't like completely boring or took me out of the movie or it was terrible. I just thought a lot of the Ion stuff, the new Zion or whatever, wasn't as interesting and as cool as when they're just in the Matrix fighting, doing their thing, or in the real world having those discussions or doing different stuff. I just thought the Ion stuff was kind of the least interesting stuff to go on in the movie. And the whole introduction of Jada Pinkett Smith's character, Niobe, the reintroduction, if you will, of her being 60 years older, being the new general, leading the charge like Morpheus did in the Freedom Fighters or whatever you call them, was cool to see her come back in the new de-age technology, special effects stuff. Really well done in this movie. Thumbs up. They've always been able to make people look older much easier than younger. So well done here. Really cool stuff. And her performance definitely played like an older woman. So thumbs up and a lot of props to Jada Pinkett. But getting back into some of those negatives, though, just want to give a little more love real quick. And Jessica Henwick's character, Bugs, awesome. Really loved her as well. She did very well with the action and martial arts, as she always does, as she is a martial artist already. We've seen as her playing, one of the Daughters of the Dragon back in Iron Fist, you know what I mean? So we know she kicks ass. All of us nerds out there already knew this, but just wanted to give her a little shout out real quick. But getting into some of those mixed and negative elements of the movie, I just thought that pacing slowed us down a little too much. And some of the plot elements, like I said, are a bit confusing and will take some explaining if you're not very well versed in the lore and the mythology and the backstory of the characters and the whole trilogy as a whole. But overall, man, this was a really well done sequel. I have very few complaints with it. It's really just those two. Yeah, it's really just those two complaints, man. Just a little better pacing in the middle act. I think the movie could have just been a bit shorter. And then just a little more clarity on how certain things tie in. Would have been a bit appreciated. But overall, excuse me. Overall, though, this was a really well done sequel for the most part. And out of 10 red pills, I'm going to give it 7.5, 7.5 out of 10 red pills for The Matrix Resurrections. But what did you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments section. I want to nerd out, theorize, and speculate with you guys. Is there going to be another one? What did you think of this one? Is it much better than the previous two sequels? Does this match up to the original? Or is it nowhere close? It's lame. You don't know what the hell people like me are talking about. Regardless, negative, positive, let me know what you thought about it down below in the comments section. We want to holler at y'all out there, man. And once again, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, guys. We hope you're having a great holiday season. And for those of you out there that maybe aren't and do find this video, just want to let you know, much love to you. Things will get better, but our hearts and our minds and our love is out there with y'all. And until next time, guys, stay tuned, don't sleep, and we'll be catching you guys real soon. And until then, Peace.